What's good, family? Welcome to a Minor Hoops podcast, show with the fresh opinions and views on the world's most beautiful game. Donovan Mitchell is now a Cleveland Cavalier. There's only one person in the room that predicted this.
Probably in the world.
In the world.
In the world.
What was it? Was it July?
Yeah,
No.
July
24th?
Yep, July 24th is when I sent that tweet out.
Around noon, around lunchtime, he was having a little lunch, and you said, you know what? Mm-hmm. If I'm Cleveland, I make that call for Spider.
Nah, facts. July 24th, 1:27 p.m.
My man was having a little lunch, so you know what? I think Cleveland gets Spider. How you feel about being Nostradamus for a day, man?
I feel like Woes Jr. Shams Mini Senior. I don't even know if those suffixes add up, but hey, I mean, it always feels good to like get one of those predictions in, especially one that's kind of like out of left field when everybody says New York, regardless of the teams. Yeah, but everybody says New York, either Nets or Knicks or the Heat. But in my head, it just made so much sense for Cleveland to go after somebody this offseason.
Okay.
And that name to me was Donovan Mitchell. I feel like when Rudy Gobert got traded, we all understood that was going to be the opening for a walkway to Donovan Mitchell to get traded out of there. Seeing what Rudy Gobert got traded for, understanding what the market was going to be because of Kevin Durant's trade request, it really just made sense for me that I'm like, if I'm Cleveland, I'm not getting anybody. So let me go try and get somebody like Donovan Mitchell, somebody who doesn't want to be in their situation anymore, but not necessarily in the midst of their prime where they're just like, I'm not touching Cleveland regardless of any kind of situation you can bring. So I like it. I thought it was a good fit. Now you're going to have that off-ball guard to allow Darius and Donovan to spend more time on court together. I know Colin Sexton was hurt, but we weren't able to see them, Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, be on court together and have that backcourt pair. So I like this is in the East. I think it was a great, phenomenal trade for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Jazz have turned Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell into a lot of assets, an enormous amount of assets, which we've seen to be the trend over the last couple of years with different franchises, OKC being highlighted the most.
Right.
But I really think this is like an A+. It's as high as a grade I could possibly give it for Cleveland.
Okay.
You pulled in a legitimate star, like somebody we've seen do like wild things in the playoffs in terms of his scoring ability, his leadership ability while on the court. It's something that I want to, give my hats off to. So Cleveland, we've talked bad about you as an organization and as a city, for good reason. But today I would like to give them an actual compliment. I think this is a great move that Cleveland has made.
Okay, so full trade details coming from Woj, and it's Utah is sending Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland for Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, who we now learn signed a 4-year, $72 million contract.
Shout out to him.
Yep, get paid.
Very much so. And 3 unprotected first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. And so all that's coming from Woj. B, hearing the details, what are your thoughts?
I feel the same way about this trade that I kind of feel about the Rudy Gobert trade to Minnesota.
Okay.
I'm very happy that the Cavs took their swing. They're like, hey, they saw a star on the market. They saw somebody they could get, and they went for it. They were like, hey, we have a young, talented core. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. They did not give up any of those guys. You added a star alongside them. And, I mean, end of the day, you have to say this at least is them turning into contender status. Are they a full-blown contender? Probably not yet.
Yeah.
But, this is them making that turn into contender status. And once again, all those guys are, under the age of 25. So, it's they're in good position going forward.
I believe Garland's 23. Moblin's, 21?
Yeah. Allen's 24, I believe. And Donovan Mitchell, I believe, is 25. They're in a good place going forward from here on out. So I applaud them for the move. Like I said, I'm all for more teams trying to make their move and be competitive. And shout out to the Jazz doing what a lot of teams are scared to do, completely
rebuild.
Yeah, rebuild.
Tank
Start
it down.
over.
Tank it down, rip it down, burn it to the ground, start over. That's where they are. The Victor sweepstakes is real.
Yeah.
Everybody's aiming for it. It's the unspoken truth of the NBA right now. So shout out to the Jazz. I'm interested to see how they move off Mike Conley and Bogdanovich and all those guys. But like I said, this was a great move, I think, for all teams involved. The Jazz got what they wanted. The Cavs got what they wanted. Everybody should be happy.
I think this trade is good in terms of Utah doing what really Danny Ainge doing what Danny Ainge does.
Yeah.
And that's going to get picks. Like, if there's anything that man knows how to do in the front office is get picks. So I'm not even.
Ooh, who's better, him or Sam Presti?
That's a good question. That is a very good question.
At getting picks,
Getting picks,
I'll give it to Sam.
Sam had to work with less.
I'll give you that. I mean,
No, I'll take that back.
Yeah, the man
That's
start
PG,
like
Russ Westbrook.
KD. Like
KD.
he's always had a superstar to kind
Okay.
of flex.
Yeah, I don't know. They're both pretty
It's
good.
close. It's close cut. But Danny Ainge does what Danny Ainge does, and that's get picked. So I'm okay, cool, whatever. That's cool. This trade, I'm not necessary. I'm giving it more of a B minus.
Okay. To who? For everybody?
For Cleveland.
Okay.
For Cleveland. I'm not that high on this trade.
Really?
No, I'm not. Because I don't know if the acquisition of Donovan Mitchell makes them contender status.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I believe
I don't
that
know
as
if that.
well.
I don't know if he makes him content, but he's gonna get paid like such.
Who's gonna pay like that?
I was about to say everybody's getting paid like that now.
And so, okay, so here's my thing. Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley were already gonna be what, 5 seeds, 6 seeds?
Maybe the East is loaded.
Yeah, but see,
Five.
They were the
the
what? They were what?
Five
The,
seed,
they were the
6
9 seed last year.
Like I had them improving based off what they did. I already had them somewhere slated, and we haven't done this yet. We're gonna do this closer to when the season starts. We're gonna give y'all our top 8, 9 for going into the year for each conference. So I already had them pretty much slated for that 5, 6 range. I don't think they move up from any further than 5 still with this trade.
You're saying they didn't get?
I don't think they got extremely better with this move.
I understand what you're saying,
So-
but
This is where I would kind of. I understand what you're saying because there's some moves that don't make you better, especially for regular season. But I would feel way more confident about them in a playoff series now than I would previously.
Yeah.
Because now, instead of having to rely on Darius Garland to be your only playmaker, your only ball handler, you now got Donovan Mitchell, who is a great scorer. We've seen him be a great scorer in the
saw him come back
playoffs.
from 3-1.
Like, we've seen that already. So I think having him in a playoff series is going to matter way more than any impact he can have in the regular season. In the regular season, you're right. Like, I think no matter what they did, they were going to be somewhere slotted between the 5 and the 8 seed. No questions asked.
Okay.
But I think having him in a matchup against Atlanta again, like, they beat Atlanta if Donovan Mitchell was on the floor that game.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Okay. And that's how I think they have to look at it. And once again, I think they're also looking at the long-term picture, just like we put together 4 young guys to ascend together. And like I said, now we just got to find the proper pieces around them.
So exactly, those are the points I was gonna make. Speaking for his playoff experience, we saw even in that 3-1 series that they were having, he was going blow for blow, throwing out shots throughout that entire bubble run that they were having. So it's his on-court ability to lead a team in terms of like putting the scoring load on his back. He's shown that he's able to do that.
Okay.
Even in what we always said was the harder conferences in the West. Even when he didn't have anybody to really help him with the scoring load in the Jazz, that he would now have in somebody like Darius Garland, who's gonna be able to consistently score 20+ points a game if need be. One of the trades or kind of signings that had shocked me at one point in time was Paul George re-signing to the Thunder. That year he had re-signed right before, of course, he gets traded to the Clippers. A lot of people didn't see it happening, et cetera, et cetera. This could be one of those things where a lot of people, which is why I'm going to get to talk to the Heat about the Heat, might look at it like, all right, Donovan's just going to leave after his contract's up. Like, no way he's going to re-sign and stay in Cleveland, but we know how the money's going to get ridiculous.
Didn't he just sign a new deal, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people are wondering if the Heat, which is why I said the Heat is going to get the amount of hate from me, is because they didn't even reportedly make an offer to the Jazz, or like a legitimate offer. So a lot of people were thinking that their frame of mind was, we'll wait until he hit free agency or something like that rather than give up all of the resources they said they were going to give up, which I think Tyler, Harrell, Strauss, and 3 picks would have been fine, or whatever it is, especially seeing the deal that came out for Donovan Mitchell. Not disrespecting the deal, but you had something that could at least competed with it, that wouldn't have gutted you entirely.
That's fair.
But no, that's the way I see it. Even if you want to view it as a lateral movement in terms of the standings, how they're not going to necessarily push forward in terms of the rankings, I can understand that. But at the end of the day, I'm happy to say that I have Donovan Mitchell having the ball in his hands for my organization in the playoffs and going forward, especially if we're trying to represent as a winning team now.
I already were very high on Cleveland already. So it's like okay, them taking a step forward, I felt like they were already going to make that. I felt like we were already going to see a elevation in Darius Garland's play coming off his All-Star appearance, Jared Allen as well. I've already called Evan Mobley the second coming of KG at some point. Like, I really didn't think this was necessary, especially when I thought you have a guy, you had those unprotected first round picks, and this is me being, I guess, a pick hog to some extent. Mm-hmm. Like, I could hold those. Like, do I really need to go out and get another 6'3" guard and put him beside Darius Garland? Or do I go get me maybe a wing guy, maybe a 3-and-D kind of guy, maybe with some more size to him that I could put beside Garland and be of more assistance.
When you say it like that, I understand what you mean.
So it's like,
but we know who the 6'3" guard is that you put next to Darius Garland. And it's not just going to be a counterpart Donovan Mitchell wing.
I got to be careful because I like Donovan Mitchell. But there are limitations to Mitchell, and we've already seen it. And so this situation could very well turn out to be a repeat of the Utah Jazz situation he's already been in.
I don't think they'll be that, simply because I think the potential for growth between Garland, Mobley, and Allen is too much. I do think, like, their big thing now is going to be to find the perfect 3-and-D wing. Like, for the next 2.5 years, that has to be their sole mission. They're going to try Isaac Okoro again. He's okay. I just don't know if they need the perfect.
Like, I was high on when they drafted Abahi. I was very high.
Like, he was a guy who did, like, kind of fit that mold. Like, so once again, they had to give him up. That's kind of tough. But, like, their whole thing is going to be to find the perfect 3-and-D wing who can guard the Tatums, who can guard the Jimmy Butlers, who can guard Jaylen Brown, and so on and so forth. All these great wings that you want to name. Mm-hmm. While the fit between Garland and Mitchell is definitely going to be interesting because they are both smaller guards and they both kind of need the ball in their hands.
Yeah.
While that is going to be something that's going to be interesting to see, I am very curious to see how Donovan Mitchell plays next to Darius Garland. Because if we remember what Donovan Mitchell was labeled as coming out of college, it was as a defender. Like, everybody thought he was going to make his name in the league as a defender. Mm-hmm. The reason you could say he probably never did that in Utah is because he had to do everything offensively. Well, now you don't. You have an all-star guard who can take some of that pressure off of you. So can Donovan Mitchell, once again, I'm not saying he has to be an all-NBA level defender, but can he just be a good one? Like, just a B-level defender? That would help a lot. Okay. You get a good 3-and-D wing who can guard perimeter guys. Garland probably, like I said, I don't know if he'll ever be a great defender in the NBA. Mm-hmm. But if you got Mobley and Jared Allen watching your back, you should be straight. Like, let's not forget, Cleveland was, even with Garland last year, one of the best defenses in the league.
And that had to do with me, and I'm not praising Lauri Markkanen too much, but that had to do with the fact. But you put a 6'11" guy at the 3.
I feel you.
And you have Mobley, then you have Allen. It's like, and then you still had a core at the time. You had Chetty out there too in certain spots.
I feel you.
It was like, okay, this is a lot of hands, and long arms to deal with.
I feel
and
you.
So
I think Mobley and Allen are more responsible than anybody. I think Mobley and Allen are more responsible than anybody. Like, Lauri Markkanen is a cone and a statue if Lauri Markkanen and Mobley aren't.
I was about to say,
line.
he probably is just a benefactor of being able to play with Mobley and Allen, just offsetting in that front
court.
court.
And the numbers would bear that out. Like, when Mobley and Allen were on the floor together, they were like a top 3 defensive team. One of them comes off, average, slightly below average.
Okay.
Like, that's just what the numbers are. Like, those two together are elite. So, now, once again, is it going to be the Rudy Gobert situation where it's like, that everybody just blow by somebody and these guys got to cover for them? Well, at least now I got two of them.
Fair.
Nah, fair. And one of them can actually step out and go out on that wing.
And Mobley can actually step out and switch. So,
I think what Donovan brings to the team, even on the offensive end, I know we're saying what are they giving up defensively, or at least that was the question. But it's also what are you gaining as a team? Somebody who can close, somebody who can go out there and stop runs by themselves, somebody who can be a spark when you need it to be. And those are all things that affect basketball games as well. I know, like, it's kind of overrated, not overrated, excuse me, over talked about when we're talking about scorings or playmaking ability. And we've had this conversation all the time where I'm saying, in my opinion, the best playmaking is putting the ball in the hoop yourself. So having somebody that can consistently do that at all three levels is something that I think I'm willing to trade even more so for, which is why I'm looking at the Heat. While when some of these packages come out, it's like you could have competed with that. It's a tricky balance to try to find, but I think it'll be easier for them to try to find their version of a perfect 3-and-D guy on the wing than it is for them to be able to find a star closer for their franchise on the organization.
Yeah, and I see exactly where y'all coming from. Like I said, I think the only thought process in terms of why I'm a little leery of it, because like I said, I still think they're going to be very, very good. But I'm a little leery of it is just the strength off the fact that we have a very strong East, we could very well see them 3, 4, 5 years from now going, they still haven't done it. And now we're having the same kind of conversation we had about Utah. Now we're having them in Cleveland. And that's because maybe Donovan Mitchell, while he is great at what he does, he's not great enough at what he does.
So, and this is where...
And so that's my hesitancy. Can
I throw a point you made about the Atlanta Hawks back at you a little bit?
I'm listening.
Remember how when the Hawks made that trade for DeJounte Murray and you were kind of like, well, if things kind of don't go right, you can kind of move off.
No, that was his point.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
Okay, he said
Oh,
that.
my fault. I apologize. Then. So you made that point, TK. Like, if things don't kind of go right, they can kind of move off either Trae Young or Murray and kind of revamp the roster again.
Yeah.
I think that's how Cleveland's going to look at it. If things kind of don't just go their way.
I can move one of these guards.
We're going to move one of these guards.
Well, I'm not moving Evan Mobley.
Yeah,
course,
I think Mobley's going to be untouchable. I think Garland probably is going to be untouchable. He's 20. Like, he's 22. Like, and he just was an all-star. Like, I think he's untouchable. I think if it comes down to it, they get to Donovan Mitchell's last year of his deal.
And I'm going to flip him for whatever.
We're going to move off of him. We're probably going to get 2-3 good players back or a couple picks back.
Yep.
And we still in good shape because we got Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. Like, we're fine.
The fact they didn't have to give up any of their core 3 players was why I can say I think is an A+ trade for them, because I don't see how this is really going to bite them in the butt in any kind of way.
Like, looking at the updated roster we have, and I agree, them not giving up any of the big things, it's crazy because
those 3 unprotected picks are
where were the Knicks at, honestly? What were the Knicks at?
That's what I'm saying.
Darius Garland, Ricky Rubio, Raul Neto, Donovan Mitchell, Karis LeVert, Chetty, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, Kevin Love, Jared Allen, Robin Lopez, Isaiah Mobley. That's the updated roster after the trade.
I really forget Karis LeVert is there.
Yeah.
He was hurt. Yeah, still coming back off that injury.
So,
like I said, they definitely need another wing. Like, that's their big need. I don't know if they'll find it, but they definitely need another wing defender. But other than that, this team is solid. Like,
I will say this. A lot
this
of
is a
other
5-seed team.
A lot of other teams have more
East is
glaring
loaded.
holes. There's not a lot of teams as solid as this when you just...
It's a 5-seed team.
I mean,
it's a 5-seed team.
It could be.
The East is low. Like, I don't think the East is loaded.
So, I have a question for the New York Knicks. I have a question for everyone there. What are you guys playing for?
The vibe.
What are we here for? Why do you exist?
The history.
Don't tell me you're here to win a chip. I hate it when teams who aren't chip ready say we're here to win a chip.
I mean, you gotta build from
No,
somewhere.
Cat.
The problem
Don't-
is if you're not building correctly.
Don't lie to me.
The issue is they're not
Don't
trying to build.
Lie
They
to
just
me.
out there.
That's what I just said. like I said, it's one thing to say we're trying to win a chip if you're actually trying to build a championship culture and team. The Knicks aren't doing that. They're saying it, but they're not actually putting forth the effort.
And so I would much rather be happy with the Knicks saying we're trying to be relevant. But here's the problem, B.
They're failing.
They're failing miserably.
They're failing at relevance.
They can't even be relevant. This was your opportunity to be relevant. This was your chance to be Carmelo Anthony in the Garden again, essentially.
Fair.
At least you get a little bit of relevance. He gonna come in, he'll play some weaker teams, he'll drop 50, the crowd goes crazy, we'll post him on ESPN. You might even get a couple Christmas Day games if you play just aight. You might sneak a Christmas game. But no. You offered Quentin Grimes and what else?
I think OB and then like picks. But it was like they wanted RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like they wanted one less pick and they wanted RJ Barrett.
Yep.
Or the Knicks didn't want to give up. The Knicks wanted to give up one less pick and not RJ Barrett. So it was like,
what are we doing, bro?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
They're being the Knicks.
And this is why I hate the Knicks. This is why I hate the Knicks.
hate's a strong word, man.
They're deserving of it.
I hate the way the Knicks are ran. Because I like players on that team. I like RJ Barrett. I was tweeting back and forth with Leak the other day. Mm-hmm. He said something about Andrew Wiggins. And Andrew Wiggins getting out of Minnesota and going to Golden State and seeing how he progressed as a player. I said RJ Barrett has the same kind of trajectory in my eyes. And he's also been put in the same kind of situation. Like, we're not going to see the best version of RJ Barrett because he's in New York.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're not going to see the best version of Obi Toppin because he's in New York.
Don't forget about your boy Cam.
We're definitely not going to see the best version
Free
of Cam.
Yo, free Cam.
Because he's in New York. We're not even going to get to see Cam. You got players over there that's very capable of being something, but you got a coach that doesn't care about young players. And then you got an organization that doesn't know how to develop them. Don't tell me you brought in Jalen Brunson's dad.
It's an AAU team.
Oh, they brought in Jalen Brunson's dad?
You didn't know that?
Nah, I hadn't heard that one.
That's why they got all the phone calls for tampering.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
And of course, they had no leg to stand on because how can you really say someone tampered? I mean,
NBA be finding dudes left and right for it. So. Anyway, no, that's fine.
If I'm Jalen Brunson, I'm like, whatever.
he got the bag. I'm not mad. Like, go
100
get your
mil
paper.
immediately?
Get your
Yeah.
paper, bro.
I mean,
I'm like,
I don't have to talk to nobody
If
else.
the Knicks is just a bank for people to go to somewhere in their career and then
It
go
is,
off
but
to
it's
play
like
somewhere
the
else, that's
basketball
cool.
bank of hell. Like it's what
Like-
what you give to get the money out is like a little part of your basketball soul.
Yeah, you give
like
them 5 years away. You 360 doing is what you're doing. It's a 360 deal
They got
going
him
to
in
play for the Knicks.
The perpetuity,
It's,
throughout the universe.
name and likeness. Just
bam. Like, you're not even being relevant. I think that's the problem that I have with the New York Knicks. They
Yeah.
sat on this move thinking, oh, well, we're the only people that made an offer. We're the only people that's out here that only really wants Donovan. Are y'all going to do it or not? Danny Ainge says, oh, bet. I'll call your bluff.
Yeah.
You forgot who I am. I'm the one that fleeced Brooklyn, 8 years ago now? Maybe
Longer than
might be
that.
longer than that. Maybe
it
a
might have
decade.
been, I think it's
Almost
10
a
years.
decade
It was 2012, I think, 2013.
Like, I'm the one that fleeced Brooklyn for all those picks. That's why Jason Tatum's down there. Like, I'll take your chances. When it made some phone calls, now Cleveland giving up Colin Sexton, who I'm a fan of. I think he can be something. I think his time in Cleveland was up because we figured out what Darius Garland was. But Colin Sexton isn't a slouch of a basketball player.
He averaged 24 his year leading the Cleveland Cavaliers, being like arguably the best player on that team.
Efficient 24 too.
Yeah, an efficient 24. I mean, it doesn't necessarily translate to winning, but granted, we're talking about
That
the
team was
Cleveland
trash, too.
Cavaliers. Yeah. So he gets hurt now.
Right.
1 year removed from that, I think, which is why I'm really high on this trade by the Cavs. I think it was a perfect amount of give to get what they got back.
Nothing sums up the Knicks more than having $330 million tied into Jalen Brunson,
Yep.
Julius
yeah,
Randle,
they're
and
mid-three.
RJ Barrett. $330 million tied into those three players. None of which are superstars. None of which are even perennial all-stars.
None of them are
if we're gonna be
stars.
honest.
Like, let's
Like,
be real.
None of them. You're hoping Jalen Brunson kind of turns into that with the spotlight.
No.
I doubt
No
it.
disrespect. It's just, I'm betting
I
against
doubt it. And then you're also still, I mean, RJ Barrett still has potential, but is he ever going
He's
to be?
not there yet. And
Yes. But is he ever really going to be a top 5 wing in the NBA?
Not with the Knicks.
I probably would bet against it. The problem with this whole Knicks scenario is this was the Knick plan. Like, since Leon Rose took over, this was the plan. Get a superstar who was affiliated with Leon Rose, which Donovan Mitchell was, CAA, from New York. Like, this was it.
Yeah.
On a silver platter. Stars ready. Donovan wants to come home. Get it done. That's all they had to do was get it done. And they couldn't because they're the Knicks. And it's frustrating. I feel bad for every Knicks fan because it's like, wow.
I don't, man.
I mean, I don't feel bad for anybody that supports mediocrity their entire life. Like,
yeah, like at a
that's
certain
pitiful by
point.
itself. But I still would feel bad for you as a fan because you actually did you get told like there is a plan in place for hope on the horizon.
I get it. Yeah.
And you actually can see you're in the boat and you can see the shore.
And you're
You
like,
see the
why are we
shoreline.
still sailing?
And then you really watch the ship just sail around the island. And you're like, but the island of gold was right there.
When your organization is blind, leaderless, and incompetent, this is what happens.
But they're not now. That's the part that's even more frustrating. Like, the idea now
To
is
say
you're not
they're
leaderless.
to say they're not now would suggest that they would do something different. I'm
you.
not gonna say that they're not now anything until I see them do something differently.
You can't just hire people and say, now we have a leader. Like,
Yeah.
you have to actually
That's
be
a figurehead.
leader.
Yeah, like you have to do something.
I feel you.
And this was your something to do. Not that weak mid playoff run where Trae Young had y'all crying at home.
Shout out to Cleveland.
Can't
Shout out
go
to
left,
Cleveland.
crew.
Like, for all the things I've said about Cleveland, these last 3 years,
They've executed.
they've been on it, bro.
Bullying works.
They've been on it.
Yeah.
The Q gonna be jumping.
Oh, they're going to have a good year. It's going to be fun.
The guard, Nate.
Guard will be jumping regardless. Depends on who
What
coming
other
in
team-
that
I was
night.
about to say,
Yeah,
what
we
other
might
team
Who's
buying
showing up-
tickets
who's
for the
showing up
other,
tonight?
for the visitors. What
Who's
you
showing
mean?
up tonight?
Yeah. Say United Center was always jumping whenever the Lakers came.
All right, y'all. Y'all let us know what y'all think about this trade. Y'all let us know what y'all think about the Knicks' lack of action. How far do you think Cleveland are going this season? Where y'all got them slated in terms of ranking or standings? We want to hear all of that. And yeah, we'll be back next time. As always, EC Brief Game. We love you. Be safe. We out.